Have you ever smelled something strange, very faint, very subtle, but it made you wonder silently, is that me? No one talks about this, but everyone has felt it. It's hard to describe. There's no real way to explain it. It's just a very faint smell, usually in the bathroom when changing clothes or when sitting alone after a nap. And the saddest part is, it's not because you're not clean. It's not because you've neglected yourself. It's that the very things you thought were keeping you fresh, maybe making you smell. The shocking truth, a compound called unknowingly, which causes the distinct aging odor, only appears after age 40 and increases as we age. Meanwhile, about 23% of people over 40 and 32% of people over 80 experience a loss of smell, meaning they don't notice the change in their body odor. And the more you scrub, the more perfume you use, the stronger that smell becomes. Isn't that ironic? Why is it that older people, especially women, are more likely to develop body odor even when they take care of themselves well? Why is it that some 80-year-old grandmothers smell as fresh as clean laundry, while others in their early 60s make their grandchildren step back? It all comes down to 8 daily bathroom habits, seemingly harmless, but secretly responsible for the scent of aging. And at the end of this video, I'll reveal one simple habit, just one, that Ellen said was enough to change my body odor in just 3 days. And maybe you'll want to hear the story of someone just like you, who's been quietly living with this every day, unsure where to begin changing. That story might help you realize that body odor is not just about hygiene. It's about connection, love, and the deep self-respect of aging. Before we dive into her story, if you're still watching this video at this point, it means you truly care about your health or the health of someone you love, and I deeply appreciate that. If this video has given you a new perspective, a helpful piece of information, or simply a sense of being understood, please click like to help this video reach more people. Don't hesitate to leave a comment below. I always read and listen to every message you share. And if you find this content helpful, please click subscribe so we can continue this journey together in the upcoming videos. Now let's move on to the next part, and the 8 bathroom habits that could be making your body smell older. It was a foggy autumn morning in Michigan. Maple leaves were drifting slowly across the porch. Inside, 74-year-old Ellen was brewing a pot of cinnamon tea, a ritual she hadn't missed in 10 years since her husband passed. Her small, old, but warm home was her world. From her bed, she could see the whole yard covered in golden leaves, and in that little world, she felt like she had enough. Ellen used to think old age would be as peaceful as a wordless melody. Wake up early, make tea, listen to the radio, and tend to the geranium pots by the window. Peace to her meant no one needed anything from her, and she needed nothing from anyone. But everything began to change with one very small detail, very brief, very ordinary, but also very painful. It was the weekend. A small gathering for the elderly is hosted by the local church community. Though Ellen wasn't fond of crowds, she still made an effort to attend because the organizer, Mr. Richard, a widowed man around her age, had called her personally to invite her. They had spoken many times at church, but never sat together for long. That day, Mr. Richard sat down beside her. While they were chatting pleasantly, he suddenly furrowed his brow, paused, and turned his face away. He raised his hand close to his nose, as if to block or wave something off. He didn't say anything, but that gesture was like a small knife cutting deep into her heart. His eyes afterward held a trace of awkward sympathy, enough for her to understand he had noticed something. After that moment, their conversation turned stiff. Mr. Richard got up early to get some tea and then moved to sit with another group. Ellen just sat there silently, still holding her cup of hot tea but not drinking. No one said a word, but she could feel a line had been drawn. Mr. Richard was a quiet, meticulous man. White hair, a dark brown sweater, and leather shoes that were always neatly polished. After his wife passed, he still came to church every week and occasionally sang in the choir. He wasn't the type who was easy to get close to, but everyone liked him for his calmness, his composure, and the way he always truly listened when others spoke. To Ellen, he was the image of a well-kept, dignified older man and one of the rare people she felt at ease sitting beside. That day before sitting down, he had poured 2 cups of tea, one for himself, one for Ellen, and even gently asked, "Would you like a bit of honey?" That attentiveness from his eyes to his tone made his sudden distraction all the more jarring. Because Mr. Richard was not thoughtless. If he turned away, there had to be a reason. That night, she couldn't sleep. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, sniffing herself, checking the towels and going through the pile of freshly washed clothes. Nothing seemed off, but the question kept coming back: if even I can't smell it, how would I know if I'm making others uncomfortable? The next day, she started showering more thoroughly. She used lavender-scented soap, scrubbed longer under her arms and around her chest. She even used perfume, something she had stopped using long ago after her husband passed. But inside, she still felt confused. Did she really have a smell? And if so, why a few days later she replaced everything in her bathroom, bought new towels, tried organic shampoo, sprayed essential oils on her pillow. Her house smelled like a candle store. But right in the middle of that lovely scent was a constant quiet unease, because no one said anything, no one complained, but no one hugged her tightly like they used to either, until one Sunday morning. At church, while she was singing a hymn, an elderly man sitting next to her suddenly turned his face away and covered his nose with his hand. He didn't speak, he didn't look at her, but it was enough to make Ellen wish she could disappear from that wooden pew. She left the service halfway through, went home, closed the bathroom door, took off her coat, sat down on the floor, and cried. For the first time in many years, she didn't feel like herself anymore. She didn't feel like Ellen, the woman who was always clean, put together, and approachable. And from that quiet sadness, a journey began. A journey to find herself again, starting with the smallest things. Because she believed that if something can push people away from her, then there must also be a way to bring them back. And in that journey, she discovered 8 silent bathroom habits that were the main reasons the scent of aging had become more noticeable. And from that point on, she began to change. Ellen didn't know where to start, but she knew one thing for sure: if body odor was silently taking away her sense of connection, then she couldn't keep guessing. She needed to understand correctly so she could act correctly. She started reading medical articles, asking her family doctor, and listening to other elderly women in the community. Gradually, a clearer picture began to form. It wasn't because of aging, it wasn't due to poor hygiene, it was because of 8 everyday habits in the bathroom. Habits that seemed harmless, but were actually disrupting the body's natural balance, making the odor more noticeable, more unpleasant, and most of all, making her lose confidence in herself. Today, you'll join Ellen in rediscovering these little things. Why does using overly fragrant soap make you smell more? Why can a damp towel left too long become a traitor after every supposedly fresh shower? Why does neglecting your feet each morning let odor silently cling to your shoe, socks, and even your self-respect? And why do small habits like wearing the same pajamas, not changing underwear before bed, or leaving the toilet lid open while flushing, slowly make you feel like a stranger to yourself? You'll realize that you don't need to buy expensive perfumes, and you don't need to scrub your body until your skin turns red. Just by changing small habits, little by little each day, your body can regain its natural, clean, pleasant scent, the kind people notice from the very first glance. And at the end of this journey, you'll discover what Ellen called a small secret that made a big change. Just one morning habit that helped her smile again during social gatherings without worry, without hiding in the back pew at church. And to begin that journey, we must return to the very first thing. The thing most women believe they're doing right: showering thoroughly, scrubbing clean, smelling fresh. But in fact, that may be where all the misunderstanding begins. Habit number 1, using too much fragrant soap on the intimate area. For many women like Ellen, the feeling of cleanliness is tied to being highly scented, cool, and covered in strong-smelling soap. So every day she scrubbed every part of her body thoroughly, especially the intimate area, using body washes with lavender rose, or even those beautifully packaged feminine washes from the pharmacy. At first she felt reassured, but over time something felt off. The area began to feel dry, irritated, then mildly itchy. Even worse, the body odor didn't go away. In fact, it seemed stronger. As it turns out, according to many gynecological experts, the vagina is a self-cleaning organ. It maintains a natural pH level between 3.8 and 4.5 to keep healthy bacteria in place and prevent harmful bacteria and yeast from growing. When we use strong soaps, scented intimate products, or anything with alcohol, we unintentionally destroy that beneficial microbiome, throwing everything out of balance. This disruption creates an ideal environment for harmful bacteria to multiply, leading to infections, odor, or yeast overgrowth. And the smell appears, not because of being dirty, but because of being too clean. So what's the solution doctors recommend? Don't wash deep inside the vagina. It cleans itself. Simply wash the external vulva gently with warm water. If needed, use a mild, unscented, alcohol-free cleanser with a pH suitable for sensitive skin. Ellen began changing her routine. She threw away all the scented feminine products and only used warm water and gentle pH-balanced wash. After 2 weeks, the irritation disappeared, and the faint odor she had worried about was gone too. That's all it took. Less was more. But soap is only part of the story. There's one habit that seems perfectly reasonable, but is the culprit behind why your body smells even after a shower: the towel you use every day. Habit number 2, dampen old towels. Ellen used to think, if I shower thoroughly, then my towel must be clean too. So the white cotton towel hanging behind the bathroom door was used over and over for the whole week. But then on certain mornings, she began to notice, even after just showering, her skin had a faint musty scent, as if something wasn't completely clean. At first, she blamed the soap, then her age. It wasn't until she read an article from the American Academy of Dermatology that she was stunned. Towels can harbor bacteria and mold if not washed frequently, especially in humid enclosed spaces like bathrooms. When you dry your body with a damp towel, you're unintentionally reintroducing bacteria onto your skin, even after a fresh shower. These bacteria not only cause unpleasant odors, but can also increase the risk of skin irritation, folliculitis, or mild infections in sensitive areas. A study from the University of Arizona once found that 90% of towels used for more than 3 days carried bacteria levels 10 times higher than the recommended safe limit. And if you hang your towel in a bathroom without windows or ventilation, the problem gets even worse. After learning this, Ellen changed her routine. She used separate towels for her body and her face. She changed her bath towels every 2-3 days, washed them in hot water, and dried them in a well-ventilated place. When possible, she used a dryer to ensure no moisture remained. After a month, her skin no longer had random itchy spots. And most importantly, the musty smell after showers completely disappeared. One small change, but it made her feel truly clean again. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. There's something else, something many people still believe is right, but it's silently harming. Let's take a look. Habit number 3, neglecting the feet. The feet, the most humble part of the body, silently carrying us through life, are often forgotten in personal care routines. It was the same for Ellen. Every time she showered, she let water run over her feet and ended it quickly. My feet are clean, I don't go anywhere, she'd tell herself. But gradually a strange, lingering odor began to appear in her old shoes, even on cool days when she didn't sweat much. At first she blamed the shoes, but even new shoes started to smell. It wasn't until she remembered reading a medical article about the structure of elderly feet that she was startled. The feet have more than 250,000 sweat glands, and the skin's natural ability to shed dead cells decreases with age, meaning dead skin plus sweat plus lack of cleaning aren't odor. Letting water simply run over the feet wasn't enough. Layers of dead skin accumulate on the heels and between the toes, creating the perfect environment for odor-causing bacteria to thrive. Ellen realized that if she wanted to feel truly clean, her feet needed to be cared for, like an essential part of her hygiene. So she changed her routine. Each time she showered, she spent a full minute washing her feet thoroughly with a soft cloth and gentle soap. She used a small brush to gently clean between the toes. She dried her feet with a separate towel, making sure to get between the toes, the areas that stay moist the longest. Once a week, she soaked her feet in warm salt water and exfoliated with a pumice stone or soft bristled brush. On days she wore closed shoes, she sprinkled a bit of antifungal powder inside and wore moisture-wicking cotton socks. The results didn't come overnight, but after just 10 days, she noticed her shoes no longer had a smell. Her feet felt light, dry, and fresh, and the skin was soft and no longer peeling. Most importantly, she no longer hesitated to take off her shoes when visiting someone's home. For Ellen, this wasn't just about hygiene, it was about reclaiming her confidence and dignity. But there's another habit, one that not everyone notices, which affects everything from towels and floors to even your toothbrush. It starts with one tiny action in the bathroom, but it can spread bacteria everywhere without you even knowing. At first, she blamed the shoes, but then even the new ones began to smell. It wasn't until she remembered reading a medical article about the structure of elderly skin that she was shocked. The feet have over 250,000 sweat glands, and the natural ability to shed dead skin decreases with age, meaning dead skin plus sweat plus lack of cleaning, odor. Letting water run over the feet wasn't enough. Dead skin built up around the heels and between the toes, the perfect places for odor-causing bacteria to thrive. Ellen realized that if she truly wanted to feel clean, her feet needed to be treated as an important part of her care routine. So she changed each time she showered. She took 1 full minute to wash her feet carefully using a soft cloth and gentle soap. She used a small brush to gently scrub between her toes. She dried her feet with a separate towel, especially between the toes where it stays moist. Once a week, she soaked her feet in warm salt water and exfoliated with a pumice stone or soft bristled brush. On days when she wore enclosed shoes, she sprinkled a bit of anti-fungal powder inside and wore breathable cotton socks. The results weren't instant, but after just 10 days, the smell disappeared from her shoes. Her feet felt light, dry, and fresh. The skin became soft again with no more peeling. Most importantly, she no longer hesitated to remove her shoes when visiting someone's home. For Ellen, it wasn't just hygiene. It was a way to reclaim her confidence and self-respect. And just as a damp towel can quietly harbor bacteria, there's another thing in the bathroom, seemingly harmless, that can spread bacteria even more quickly. This habit happens every day after each use of the toilet, but few people realize how dangerous it actually is. Habit number 4, flushing the toilet without closing the lid. If you've ever thought that flushing the toilet was the final step to leave the bathroom feeling clean, you're not alone. Ellen used to think that too. Every morning she went into the toilet, flushed, and quietly walked out, never once thinking to close the lid. One day after cleaning the bathroom, she sat down to rest and glanced at the toothbrush placed right next to the toilet. A sudden shiver ran down her spine. In her mind, she saw the image of water droplets spraying up with each flush, and then landing on her toothbrush. No, it couldn't be. But the truth was worse than she imagined. According to a study from the University of Leeds, UK, when you flush the toilet without closing the lid, you create a bacterial cloud, also known as a toilet plume, that can rise up to 1.5 meters and remain in the air for hours. Tiny droplets containing bacteria from feces, urine, and other waste silently settle on your face towels, combs, makeup items, and even your toothbrush. And if your bathroom is small, humid, or lacks ventilation, as in Ellen's case, the risk is even higher. As soon as she realized this, she immediately made some changes. She closed the toilet lid before flushing every time. She stored her toothbrush and other personal items in sealed containers. She bought a small exhaust fan to improve airflow. She cleaned the toilet lid with disinfectant at least once a week. The result, after a few weeks, the bathroom no longer had that damp, musty smell. The yellowish stains around the toilet noticeably faded, and most importantly, Ellen felt like she was finally in control of a part of her health she had previously ignored. For many, it's just a small habit, but for Ellen, it was the beginning of a real sense of cleanliness from the inside out. And it's not just the toilet. There's another item that seems soft and comforting, but if ignored, it can secretly hold bacteria close to your skin every single day. Let's uncover what else could be silently affecting your body odor. Habit 5, not washing your bathrobe. Imagine the feeling of stepping out of the shower, clean skin, warm droplets still clinging, and wrapping yourself in your favorite bathrobe. Soft, cozy, like the embrace of an old friend. For Ellen, that was the moment she looked forward to every morning, a brief moment of peace in her repetitive days. But There was something she only dared admit much later: that very robe, her faithful friend after every shower, was actually one of the silent culprits behind her unpleasant body odor. At first she thought the smell was coming from the bathroom, maybe from the drain, but after many cleanings with no change, she began to notice. The smell always appeared right after putting on the robe. She brought the robe to her nose, and for the first time in years, she noticed a musty, stale scent. The smell of dampness, the smell of fabric that was no longer fresh. The problem is that bathrobes are usually worn right after stepping out of the shower while the body is still damp. Moisture from the skin, natural oils, dead skin cells, and sometimes even bacteria can seep into the fabric fibers. If the robe isn't washed regularly or dried in a well-ventilated area, it becomes the perfect breeding ground for bacteria, pressed right against your clean skin every day. Microbiological studies show that after just 3 to 4 uses, bacteria can accumulate enough to produce that distinct musty odor, especially if you hang your robe in the bathroom, a damp, poorly ventilated space. The smell becomes more pronounced over time. Wearing it again is like bringing bacteria back onto your freshly clean skin. Ellen then made a few small changes. She bought a second robe to rotate between uses. She washed the robe weekly, even if it looked clean. She stopped hanging it behind the bathroom door and moved it to a sunny drying rack. She occasionally soaked it in diluted vinegar to naturally disinfect it. That's all, and she noticed her skin was less itchy, the bathroom smelled like clean fabric, and most importantly, she no longer caught those uneasy glances from others as she passed by. A very small change, but for seniors it can make a real difference in confidence and feeling clean. Habit number 6, not cleaning the bathroom trash bin. Many of us have a small trash bin next to the sink or toilet to toss cotton, swabs, tissues, or hygiene products. But how often do you empty that trash, and have you ever cleaned the inside of the bin? Every item thrown in, no matter how small, carries moisture, bacteria, or odor. When this builds up over time in an enclosed space, especially a poorly ventilated bathroom, it becomes a source of bad smells. The solution is simple. Empty the trash every 2 to 3 days and clean the bin weekly with vinegar or baking soda. You can sprinkle in some activated charcoal dried coffee grounds or a few drops of essential oil to neutralize odors. A clean trash bin means a fresher smelling bathroom. Habit number 7, not wiping the armpit area properly after shaving. You may think that once the underarm hair is shaved, it'll stay dry and odor-free, right? Yes, but only if you also take one extra step, thoroughly wiping the armpit area after shaving. When you shave, the razor removes not only hair, but also dead skin cells, bacteria, and leftover deodorant residue. But if you don't clean properly afterward, all of that stays on your skin, hiding in tiny pores invisible to the naked eye. That creates the perfect environment for odor-causing bacteria to grow. The recommendation is that after shaving, use a soft towel or damp cotton pad to gently wipe the underarm area with warm water. You can also rinse with diluted salt water or lemon water. Then let the skin air dry for 5-10 minutes before applying deodorant again. Just one small step, but it keeps this area truly clean and fresh. Habit number 8, wearing the same underwear to bed. Picture this: you've taken a warm shower, slipped into soft pajamas, ready to sleep, but you're still wearing the same underwear you've had on all day. It might seem harmless, especially if you've just stayed home or haven't moved around much. But in reality, underwear worn all day has already accumulated sweat, dead skin cells, and bacteria, especially if it's made of synthetic, non-breathable fabric. When worn overnight, all that stays pressed against your skin, creating a warm, damp environment where bacteria and yeast thrive. The result: unpleasant odor, skin irritation, or just that uncomfortable feeling the next morning. Tip: change into clean underwear before going to bed, preferably breathable cotton. Or if you're comfortable, sleep without underwear, letting your sensitive skin breathe, reducing moisture and keeping odor away. You see, sometimes it's not about what we eat or what medications we take. It's the small daily bathroom habits that silently affect our body odor and overall comfort in older age. And if Ellen could begin with just one small change, then so can you, starting today. And if you've stayed with us this far, here's a very simple secret, one even many doctors recommend: once a week, soak your underarms or any area prone to odor, in warm water mixed with a little apple cider vinegar or baking soda. It helps balance pH and eliminates odor-causing bacteria without harsh chemicals. One small step, but it can completely change the way you feel about your body. What can you do today? Take a look at your bathroom habits, your robe towels, trash bin, toilet feet, or even the towel you use daily. Pick just one thing to change today. Write down how you feel after a few days and share if you notice any improvements. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment saying I'm going to try this to inspire others too. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future videos from Senior Health Table, where we don't just share knowledge but also listen and walk alongside you on your journey to live with strength, dignity, and health. Take care, and see you in the next video.